Today, Kevin and I will be talking about how to avoid getting a ticket. A lot of us have licenses or will be maybe getting them very, very soon. And something that we really want to avoid, every single one of us, is getting a ticket. It doesn't matter for what, for parking, for speeding, for anything.
Now, before we get started, I have the obligatory best tip of all: drive safely. Nothing will help you get out of tickets more often than just not doing whatever it is that got you the ticket in the first place. That said, it's not always avoidable. Sometimes there's an emergency at work or at home, you need to get home fast. Sometimes the tail light's out, sometimes it's your tabs. One way or another, you got into a ticket and now you need to find a way out of it. That's why we're here.
First, we'll talk about things that we should and shouldn't do. Mostly things that we shouldn't. The first number one thing that I would recommend not doing is lying. Lying is literally one of the most stupidest things you could do because a lot of doctors, a lot of cops are very, very trained to tell if you're lying or not. And even if they're not trained, a lot of them do carry around lie detectors where which they could just have you put on in your own car, so you don't have to get out of your car for them to see if you're lying or not. Another important thing to not do or to not be is to be rude, because cops are they're just people just like us, and they could be having a bad day, and maybe with us being even more.
Now let's move on to some things that you should say. Like Vlad says, lying to the police officer is one of the worst things you can do. The second worst thing you can do is confess to exactly what you were doing when you got pulled over. The key here is to admit guilt, but not to offer a confession as to what you did. If you're speeding down a road and you knew you were doing 20 over the speed limit, the cop will pull you over and ask you, "How fast do you think you were going back there?" The trick is to admit that you were going fast, but not say how fast, because that gives him a number to work with. What you want to say is something like, "Too fast, sir. I'm sorry." Politeness also helps a lot here. If you're polite, you have a lot better chance of not getting a ticket than if you just shrug the cop off. That pisses them off. And the other thing that pisses them off is calling them officer. You do not want to objectify the position of authority. Say sir or ma'am. It's respectful and it makes the person feel better.
Actions you shouldn't take. Don't ever try to run away. As fun as it will sound, as much as you think you can get away in your super fast sedan or whatever you're driving, it's literally one of the most stupidest things you could ever do. It would just get you into more trouble, and cops are very fast, and there's more of them than you, and they can call backup very easily. So don't ever try to do that, and don't ever drive under the influence, which you should probably do or not do before you even get into a car. So yeah, don't ever drink and drive, or smoke and drive. Marijuana, that is. So yeah, those are my main things not to do.
Now, some of the things that you can do to reduce the chances of you getting a ticket are to have your license, registration, and proof of insurance ready when the cop approaches the window. Now, he's going to ask for your license one way or another, so you might as well have that out. But if it's a broken tail light, he might ask to see your registration, proof of insurance if you got hit, whatever. Have those documents ready because it eases the process and it makes everybody happy, which reduces your chances of getting a ticket. The other thing you should do is keep your hands in clear view when the officer approaches the window. You don't want them in your pockets. You don't want them by your side. Best place to have them is probably on the steering wheel. That's where he can see them most clearly. He knows you're not going to try and pull anything. He feels safer. That'll reduce your chances too. Now finally, I'd like to talk to you about some things that you may have in the car when you get pulled over. Now, Washington is one of the best states to hunt in. I know. Everybody has a gun. People carry guns with them in their cars. Sometimes people get pulled over when they're carrying guns. Scary, right? All you need to do is tell the officer that you have a gun in the car, make sure it's not loaded when you declare your weapon, and let him handle the situation from there. Nothing will make him feel safer than letting him take care of the gun instead of saying, "Oh, here's my gun." Yeah, don't do that. That's a bad idea. If you have drugs or fragile goods in the car that you don't want the officer finding, as long as they're not in plain sight, all you have to do is not consent to a search. If he does rifle through your car, anything that he finds can't be used against you in court, and he probably won't bother with a search if you refuse, because it's not worth his time to find evidence that won't be presentable anyway. So in conclusion, there's 3 things that you need to be mindful of when you get pulled over: what you say, what you do, and what you have with you. Thank you very much.